Welcome back to another exciting episode of Revving Up with Revenge. I'm your host, Quang Do, and I'm very, very pleased to be joined with my special guest today, Julie Curry, Chief Revenue Officer at Quad. Hello, Julie. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Quang. I'm doing great. Thank you for inviting me onto your podcast. I love podcasts, so it's really fun to be on one.
We'll jump right into it. How did you know that a career in sales, revenue growth, revenue strategy was your path? Like, how did you figure that out? Is that something you always knew you wanted to get into? And how did you end up where you are today?
Does anybody really know what they want to do when they're coming out of school and they're young, bright-eyed, and bushy-tailed? No, I did not know that I was going to be in the revenue side of the business. I started my career in account management, in managing big accounts. I started working at Nielsen, as now NIQ, and my goal was just to be working with clients. I wanted to be in the CPG world, and I got the opportunity to work at Nielsen on the P&G business. And anytime you're in an account management world, especially in a service-based company like Nielsen was, you have growth targets, you have revenue targets. And so then it became a little bit of a competitive game on being able to hit those targets and finding a way to overachieve them as I went through my career. So I don't know if I knew I wanted to be on the revenue side, but I do enjoy working with customers. And what I like about being more of a supplier-based world, you get to work with so many customers and see different cultures, ways of going to market and industries. So that's what's kept me in it over time.
You hit on a very topical term, I would call it account management. And what I found interesting over the years of working with lots of different companies and leaders is it's a widely used term, but can be defined very differently. I'm curious, what is your definition for account management? And particularly in the age of AI and having abundance amounts of information.
If you go into the blogosphere these days, account management can be called so many different
Yeah.
things. It can be customer success, integrated account management, regular account management. At the heart of account management is understanding whatever scope of work your account from the company that you're representing and making sure that that client experience is well tended to relative to its delivery of that expectation. But most importantly, that you're building a relationship, you're building trust. And then, my guess is that you're also trying to grow your
Yeah.
business with that customer. But ultimately, you only get there through great delivery of your first statement of work and building trust. If you're not embedded in their success, both personally with the person that you're dealing with, but then also corporately with the expectations that their company has on them, it's going to be a short-lived relationship. So to me, account management is all about excellence in delivery. It's excellence in relationship building, trust building, and most importantly, excellence in helping your customer grow with whatever you're delivering to them, with whatever relationship you have with them.
And
Mhm.
be hyper in tune and focus on the outcomes that your customer
Yeah.
are looking for. Yeah.
You got to make your customers look like a
Yeah.
star. If you make them look great, then it becomes easy just to keep riding that wave.
Yeah. Would you say, going back to your career, has that been a guiding light? Make your customers look like a star. Has that been a true north for you?
Absolutely. Being in sales, being in account management, you've got to really enjoy being around people. You got to really enjoy getting to know people. It's not like we haven't had some crazy customers along the way. We all have, but those are even more challenging because you got to win over even your skeptics. It's almost like a life lesson, just giving to them and helping anybody be the best that they can be, both personally and professionally.
What are some tips for winning over skeptics? Those that come in with a bit of the rosiest view of what you're providing, right? And how do you overcome that?
It always starts with listening. You've got to start with understanding somebody's experience, especially if you're taking over an account. I remember this story. I was working for a very large personal care company that was located in Boston at the time. And I'd come in to take over the account. It was a global account. And the company I worked for, Nielsen, had this account globally. And I remember walking into this woman. She had a very influential position, introducing myself. And she looked at me and she said, Julie, I love your enthusiasm. I was young at the time. I love your enthusiasm. I love your optimism. I'm just telling you, you don't got a company behind you that's going to be able to deliver on what you're
Yeah.
saying. And I'm like, you know what? I don't agree with you on that. I actually think our company can deliver, and we
Yeah.
did, on what we've promised. I think we just haven't connected in a way that helps us both be successful here. But sometimes you enter into those situations where They're looking at you as being just the next coming in down the line. But you got to stop and say, let's unpack it. Let's really figure out what the root causes are of what you've perceived as a lack of transparency, a lack of information. Has it been a lack of delivery? Have we overpromised and underdeliver? How do I get that equation better synced up? It was a good lesson because you can come in just like, I'm the best, but you always got to start with, let me listen. How's it going? I am taking over the account. Tell me what it's going to take to have this be a successful relationship.
I love that story because what that also reminds me of is how I've seen you operate in recent times, higher level strategic, and then almost instantaneously, this is an issue. We have to unpack it, go 2 or 3 layers deep, and really get to this, not allow for generalizations to move us from the critical decision point. How do you do that? You're chief revenue officer responsible for a very large enterprise, billions of dollars. How do you manage that dichotomy of knowing when to go deep, when to be in the weeds, and when to trust others to drive it forward?
Oh my gosh, Quang, that is probably a leadership equation that, it's really hard to get
Yeah.
right. So first of all, let me start by saying I'm not sure I do get it right. However, let me tell you my guiding principle. First off is you got to trust that you put into key leadership positions. Your job once you put those people in place is to remove obstacles. Sometimes you need to go down a few floors to really help them and understand what those obstacles are, because sometimes those obstacles are so cross-functional in their scope. To know how to be a good servant leader to the people you put around you, you've got to earn their trust. And one of the ways you can earn their trust is by really being in the weeds with them to really understand what is causing challenges that they have in order to be as successful as they and their teams need to be. So that's kind of my guidepost. Do I feel like my team could use a little bit of a helping hand here? And by a helping hand, then if I understand it at a level and have credibility that I've kind of gone a bit deeper, then I can be their spokesperson and their agent across the organization in a really credible way. That's kind of my guidepost. I don't always get it right. Sometimes I'm just super curious about hey, what's happening down there. And then also the other thing that I really believe wholeheartedly is that everybody wakes up, goes to work to do their best. And to really make a difference and make an impact. If you perceive somebody as not moving the ball forward or not being as successful as you need them to be, I suspect there might be something getting in their way. You being honest and authentic about helping them, for us to see what's getting in their way, then allows them to build the trust that you're going to be an agent to them being more successful in the future. Again, I want to reiterate, I don't always get that right.
From what I've seen, you get it right more often than not. So we'll take that as a win.
Oh, thank you, Quang. You're kind. You're kind.
One of the things I've seen recently from you on LinkedIn is a really big investment in others through different organizations, different ways of mentoring, one-to-one, one-to-many. I'm just curious, one, why? And two, that leads me to believe that mentorship has played a big role in your career.
Yeah, I do. Maybe it's just because I'm at the later stages of my career that you want to pay it forward and bring people up. There's a quote, I don't know if you followed Gloria Steinem at all, but she was an inspiration to many young women back in the day. There was a quote by her at one point, and she's in her 90s. Somebody asked her whether she was going to be passing the torch anytime soon. Her response is just so memorable to me. No, I cannot pass my torch. I need to keep my torch so I can light the torch of other young women coming up the ranks. And that's just kind of resonated with me. So that is our job as you move through the ranks of an organization. Your job is to light others' torches. Have I had other people light my torches? Absolutely. I wouldn't get to where I am today with the job that I have if I didn't have other folks helping me learn, make mistakes. They've come in different ways and kind of methods, but I've always felt a bit of my own. You have to pave your own way. It's not a free ride, but it is just a reminder for us all.
I love that. I'm going to use that. The best thing we can do is to help others because it goes back to what you said earlier. It's a good reminder. Like no one goes to work thinking I'm going to do sub-mediocre work today, right? Or maybe they do. If they do,
let me phone it in.
Phone it in today. And then people want to win and they want to win with people they like and they want to share in the successes. And if you can pave a way for them to do that, everyone will benefit, right? And it's easy to say when you're a smaller company. I imagine much harder when you're a global enterprise and different business units, divisions, and lots of different people.
Yeah.
No small feat. With all the news and things going on in the market about AI and the future of sales as a function, the future of professional jobs, what advice would you give to young professionals thinking about a career in sales, account management, revenue operations? What would you tell them?
Biggest advice I give to all, and this isn't just for people early in their careers, but stay curious.
Yeah.
You've got to be disrupting yourself and your way of working on an ongoing basis. You do that through curiosity. You do that through confidence. You either disrupt yourself or somebody will disrupt you. Those stupid cliches of, you got to keep changing or you're dying or whatever those little pithy statements are. In the career world, especially in sales, absolutely true. You've got to always be curious about what your competition is doing, what your customers' pain points are, and how to make value out of your customers. How do you become more effective and efficient and show up to your sales conversation in a way that is interesting, intriguing, and forward-leaning? That takes work. You can't just phone it in sales anymore. There's too much competition around you. You got to really understand, how am I going to stand out? It's like job interviews, right? Like preparing for a job interview. It's the same thing. Preparing for a sales call is like preparing for a job interview. In today's world, the AI tools make it such a requirement because your competition is going to walk into that meeting super smart because they probably are using more AI generated intelligence and insights that are going to make them differentiate. The bar keeps raising in how you have to show up to a client meeting so that they're always seeing you working really hard on their behalf. If they don't see you as a hungry, innovative, modern seller, they're gonna be like, well, why would I buy from this person? If they're not caring enough about moving themselves to the future, how are they going to move me to the future? That's a broad statement because there's so many different industries people sell into. Thematically, there's probably something that would really resonate on that point.
I love that. And speaking of the 50 or 50,000 cliche sayings, we're going to add another one. You heard it here first. Preparing for a sales call should be like preparing for a job interview.
The research you do, you get to know the person.
Yeah.
What smart questions do you ask? That's all the same as preparing for a sales call.
I've said it a few times in this chat. I'll say it again. I couldn't agree more. I think we all know that customers have way more information than they ever have. And they've been coming there, not just for you to read information that they could have found either through their own Google search or Chat GPT. They're looking for insights, right? And they want you to show that you care and understand. So I think you're right. It is like a job interview, which puts a lot of pressure on folks entering sales, but I imagine it also makes it also really rewarding, right? When you can rise and deliver on that promise, which is why sales exist in the first place.
Right.
That's all the time we have for today's episode, but join us next week when we sync back up with Julie for another conversation. Thank you so much for joining.